Shout out to Leonis or Leonis Williamson. If I pronounce your name incorrectly, please correct me down in the comments if you see this video. And they sent me this article from Atlanta Black Star. Now, one major reason I'm doing this video is because, as y'all know, on my channel, I'm doing the Sundown series, which of course is highlighting different sundown towns or villages, as some places are calling them, as a series on my channel. And one of the towns that I talked about was Glendale, California. And that's actually going to be the topic of discussion today with this video. Because according to the Atlanta Black Star, Glendale has become the first city in California to apologize, quote unquote, for its past as a sundown town where blacks were targeted after dark. Listen, if you really want to apologize, help cut that check. That's apology enough. Because the sundown town past that Glendale had hurt a lot of black people who were once living there. Shoot, some of them probably couldn't even live there. But let's get into it. Glendale is finally reckoning with a dark past of its own history. It is the first city in California and the third in the nation to pass a resolution acknowledging and expressing remorse for its past as a sundown town. Now listen to that. First in the state, third in the nation. How many sundown towns have I covered since January? And this is only the third one, and it's October 18th. It was a label given to towns where black Americans knew they were not welcome once the sun went down. In response to hundreds of people living in the Los Angeles suburb participating in BLM protests and demanding action on racial issues, the Glendale City Council unanimously passed a resolution on September 15th apologizing for and denouncing its history as a sundown town and a commitment to addressing racial bias in the city. Okay, it's one thing that you have an apology given, but it should be more that comes with just, with an apology. And besides, most of the people that you're apologizing to most likely are deceased. So who are you apologizing to? Because most of the black people, the population to my knowledge in Glendale, black people is not that high. So who exactly is this this apology going to? Glendale's history of racism dates back many decades. The Los Angeles Times reports the KKK operated in the city in the 1920s, and the American Nazi Party was headquartered in Glendale from the 1960s to the 1970s. Numerous newspaper clippings exist as verified records of a time when where blacks were disregarded in the town. It has that lunacy and legacy, and it makes sense to address that head on. Glendale City Councilman Dan Brotman told NBC Los Angeles this week. That same legacy extends to thousands of cities in the U.S. where blacks were cautioned not to be found after dark. The Midwest has a deep connection to the sundown towns, with many small settlements whose history has been suppressed and obscured. They are only just starting to recognize and learn about the racism that is pervasive in their past. During the 1890s and to the 1940s, black Americans in the Midwest sundown towns were refused lodging, brutally cast out, and oppressed, which resulted in lasting homogeneous that has persisted throughout the years. The town of Goshen, Indiana, ironically, Goshen, Indiana is a town that I just talked about, had brochures from 1955 that declared no Negro population, and Klan rallies taking place as recently as 1996. Goshen eventually made the decision to pass its own resolution recognizing the town's history, and is one of only 3 sundown towns to have done so. Pierce City, Missouri, the first black resident, did not graduate from high school until 2003, according to a local historian. Utica, Ohio, is a town with a conflicted narrative, with the complexity of its racial history making reconciliation all the more difficult. While the area was once a key stop of the Underground Railroad, the 1920s saw the ascendancy of the Klan and as they burned crosses and terrorized black people. With these stories finally emerging into the public consciousness, it has been difficult for towns to figure out how to act in response. One town successfully passed the city council resolution, and it was a document that necessitated 31 drafts. Now look at that. It took them 31 drafts just to get to one resolution. What does that tell you? And who knows how long it took them to draft that, even up one draft. As a result of their resolution, Glendale City Council decided to hire an investigator to organize a historic context study to record the racial history of Glendale and examine how racial bias may have been an influence in hiring practices, housing, and police policies for the future. Tara Peterson, the head of the Coalition for Anti-Racist Glendale, told NBC Los Angeles the resolution is a chance for the city to finally accept its troubling history and do better for the future. Being able to say, hey, we know we were once this way, we're no longer this way, and this is what we're going to do moving forward. Brotman said that the resolution was emblematic of the city's dedication to racial justice and equality. The resolution does commit us to look at how we conduct affairs in Glendale and look at how racism may be playing a role. It is extremely empowering and makes the community feel like they can come together, and now we can think about healing and reconciliation. While, like I said, while all of that is nice and whatever, what does that really mean today? Like, what does that mean for us in 2020? Like I said, most of the black residents have already been driven out, and the ones who were once there are now deceased. So who are they again? I ask. Who are they apologizing to? Like, really? Because the percentage of black people living there, last I checked, is not high at all. It's mostly palm-colored and Mexicans and Hispanics and maybe some Asians living there, and that's about it. And what, like I said, what is an apology going to do? Okay, you apologize for the atrocities of your ancestors. Now what? This to me means nothing. That's just something that you did to make yourself feel good. Like, what does that do for the people who it was supposed to be meant for? Like, it does nothing. Like I said, the only thing that they can do right now in the form of an apology is cut that check. And that's it. Y'all let me know what y'all think down in the comments, and I'll talk to you in the next one.